I'm Miss Shepherd, a sixth grade teacher. Today we're going to look at using the properties of addition to make equivalent expressions. In this lesson, we're going to focus on standard 6EE3, apply the properties of operations to generate equivalent expressions. We're also going to step into 6EE4, identify when two expressions are equivalent, i.e., when the two expressions name the same number regardless of which value is substituted into them. These two standards go hand in hand, and you need to understand one in order to understand the other. In this video, I want us to focus on 3 lesson objectives. Understand that the properties used with numbers also apply to expressions with variables. Recognize and generate equivalent expressions using properties. And we're also going to begin exploring substituting a value into expressions to prove equivalency. I feel that this really helps illustrate how the properties work and how each side can equal each other. Before we can understand any of our objectives for today, we need to know what are equivalent expressions. They're expressions that have the same value regardless of which number is substituted for the same variable. We also need to understand the properties. The commutative property of addition says that reordering the terms does not change the value of the expression. Commutative relates to the word commute. Every day we go from home to school and school back home. That's our daily commute. The distance is the same between the two spaces. The associative property of addition says regrouping the terms does not change the value of the expression. In the first problem, we have A and B grouped together. In the second part, you see B and C grouped together. Associative property, you want to think about grouping. The last property that I want to talk about is the distributive property, which states distributing the common factor does not change the value of the expression. Here we have A, parentheses, B plus C, parentheses, equals A times B plus A times C. The best way that I can communicate the distributive property is thinking about a truck distributing things to a store. It distributes things to the first store and it distributes things to another store. Let's look at our first problem. Is this an equivalent expression? 3x plus 6 equals 3 parentheses x plus 2 and parentheses. You may wish to pause the video for a moment and think and solve the problem. One thing I would try to do is I want to substitute. So let's substitute 5 for x so we can actually see the equivalency if it's there. So I would replace x with 5, saying 3 times 5 plus 6. Then I want to solve 3 times 5, which gives me 15. So then I say 15 plus 6. Okay, let's go over to the other side. Let's also substitute 5 for x. What do you notice as we look at this part of the problem? That's right, it's the distributive property. That means we want to take the 3 through both numbers. So we would say 3 times x and 3 times 2. We're also substituting 5 for x. So we want to say 3 times 5 plus 3 times 2. When I solve each part of the problem, 3 times 5, I get 15, plus 3 times 2, which is 6. I'm noticing some similarities. Are you? Both sides equal 21. So they are equivalent expressions. Let's take a moment to reflect. Jeremy says that you can apply the commutative and associative properties to 6x plus 12 and get 12x plus 6. Is he right? Explain. Take a moment, pause the video, and think about this question. No, Jeremy is not right. Let me take a moment to address the misconceptions. 6x is a term in the expression 6x plus 12. The commutative and associative properties say you can reorder and regroup terms of an expression without changing the value of the expression. But if you reorder or regroup the factors of the terms in an expression, such as changing 6x to 12x, the value of the expression will change. Let's check that with substitution. Does 6x plus 12 equal 12x plus 6? Let x equal 5. So I want to come over here and I want to plug in 5 everywhere I see an x. I'm going to take the first side first. And I would say 6 times 5 plus 12. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 plus 12 gives me 42. On the other side, I want to plug in the 5, giving me 12 times 5 plus 6. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 plus 6 gives me 66. 42 does not equal 66. Therefore, they cannot be equivalent expressions. They don't equal the same number. You try this one. Use the properties to create at least 2 equivalent expressions to 4x plus 14 minus 28. Pause the video and take a moment. If we use the commutative property, we want to rearrange the numbers. So I could put 14 first plus 4x minus 28. If I use the associative property of grouping the numbers, I would want to group 4x minus 28. And using the distributive property, I want to think about factors that multiply across addition or subtraction. Since 4 goes into both 4x and 28, we can use 4 as our factor. When I pull 4 out, I've got 14 plus 4 parentheses x minus 7 in parentheses because 28 divided by 4 is 7. As you work problems on your own, here are a few things to remember. Look for ways to use the commutative and associative properties to create equivalent expressions through grouping and reordering. And look for factors to use the distributive property. What goes into more than one number? I hope this video helps. Thanks for watching.